Welcome back to the After Dinner Leadership Podcast. It's great to have you with us again. And it's 2026. Can you believe it? 2025 flew by. Here we are at the turn of another year. And it gets me thinking at this time of year about words, and particularly what my focus is going to be around a particular word of the year for 2026. And this idea of choosing a word of the year came from working with one of my colleagues some years ago, a guy called Johnny Limpus, who's a previous After Dinner Leadership guest. And we would work together facilitating leadership workshops. And when we were starting the week, before the learners arrived, we would decide what would our focus be for that particular week. And we would put a word to it. So it could be something like purpose, or it could be something like kind of discernment or clarity. So we've got these different words that we would focus in on, that we would make sure that we would use as a way of reviewing our performance every day. Have we got closer to that word or further away from that word in the way that we've worked together throughout that week? And we'd be traveling all over the world, and that would be our discussion point when we started, and then when we were sitting in the sauna or at the end of the evening, just over a bit of dinner, we would just check in with each other. And it was a really useful exercise. And I remember walking through an airport terminal when I decided that I would set up my own business, and just talking to him what that word would be for me. And we came up with this idea of purposeful. And anyway, we stuck with that. For facilitating purposeful leadership as a bit of a statement for orientation for my new business was something that I think it was in an airport in China that we were walking through and came up with this idea. Anyway, we are here now at the turn of the year and thinking about, why would we bother choosing a word? What benefit might that have? And I'd like you to consider, if you're not doing this already, as a way of having a bit of a North Star for 2026, something you can focus on, that you can come back to. It's a little bit like values, but a bit of an aspirational statement that you can focus on, that's going to help you to orientate when you get slightly off course, feeling a little bit discombobulated, that you can come back to it and say, right, am I getting closer to or further away from that word of the year? And I found that to be a really useful exercise. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about that, as amongst other things. And I'm joined once again by our producer, Ryan Spores, my colleague and producer of the podcast, Ryan Spores. Welcome, Ryan.
Thanks, Simon. Good to join you for the new episode of the first year.
Yes, it's great to have you back. Normally, Ryan's behind the scenes helping to organise the guests and editing the podcast and the likes, but it's great to have him in front of the camera now as we talk about 2026. And Ryan, first off, let's talk about our word of 2025 and how that's played out. And then we'll talk a little bit about 2026, some of the thoughts we've got, and some exciting things that are happening with the podcast as well. So what's your thoughts on in my opening there with regards to the word of the year? What difference does this practice make for you?
Yeah, this is a practice that I adopted maybe 2-3 years ago off the back of your inspiration, and watching what that word of the year did to you throughout the year. It's like, right, okay, at the turn of, I think, 2024, right, let me decide a word. This previous year, I chose a word that was German, which is an accolade to my lovely wife, who's German, and I'm trying to learn that language. And I chose the word Überblick, which means overview. But as a classic German word, it says a lot more than just that word. So directly translated overview, but there's the involvement of clarity in that. It's the word that they use when they're at the top of the mountain and they've got the big panoramic view. That's the Überblick, sorry. And I thought, you know what, 2025, I want to have a strong Überblick of my life, of my role, but also as, in the different roles that I play in my life, I want to have a strong overview. I want to feel like I'm sitting on top of a mountain and I've got everything under control. I've got a beautiful view of what's going on. So it's kind of like a year of consolidation, but like real clarity and just like control. That's kind of what is denoted within that word.
does Überblick suggest a beautiful panorama, or is it just an overview of panorama? It could be bad weather, but does it
Yeah,
denote? Is it used in the connotation of you seeing good things when you're looking from the mountain, or just you're seeing a big view?
I don't know, but the mountains I've climbed with Germans and the weather has been bad, I've not heard them say, "What a nice Überblick." I
Right.
think they're just more disappointed with the with
Okay.
the general view. So I don't know, but it was I framed it as a word that had only positive connotations for that year.
Yes.
So a positive view, but like clarity and control and kind of an oversight on all things. So I was just kind of wanted to maintain that perspective, but also that larger scale. Zoom out to 2,000 feet. That's a really helpful way of processing anything. It's like, right, let's zoom out quickly. Let's go to that 2,000 feet. And it is like, let's go to that Überblick. Let's go to that overview of what is it that we're trying to do here? What are the moving pieces from above? And then get into the granularity of it, come back down
Yeah.
to that space. So
Nice. Nice. Well, it's been one of those moments in 2025 where you feel that you've had Überblick. I when I'm saying that word, I'm feeling like I'm pronouncing it
yeah,
very badly.
me too. Me
Okay.
too, Simon. I feel like so a personal and a professional reflection on that. Personally, I think my wife and I have maintained a strong overview, a strong overblick of our life, and it's felt like we've had that view together. So it's felt very aligned, and we experienced that together in navigating parenting and moving house and all of these different things that's happened this year for us. Um, that's been a really strong um, North Star for us of like, okay,
Yeah.
let's just make sure that we're looking at the big picture right now rather than just the granularity of what's going on. And that's enabled us to appreciate what's happened this year, to kind of sit from almost a bench on top of the mountain together and look at what's happening. When actually when you're in the terrain, that can feel maybe overwhelming or tiresome, but it's allowed us to maintain that vision of what's the point, what are we doing this for. And then professionally, I think talking maybe project specific or working with a client or working on a program, it's like, okay, we've got a 6 month development program going on right now, and there's this aspect that needs to be done for that module or whatever. But actually, it's like, hang on, let's zoom out. What's actually happening in module 3 that will help inform module 1? And so, from a professional perspective, I've felt more in control. Obviously, Simon, you're my leader, so that's probably for you to um, to have observed. But it's like, okay, I feel more in control. I feel more clarity. I'm more aware, and it's more peaceful. It feels less cluttered and scatty and spontaneous. But it's more, no, we got this. This feels in control.
Yeah. And I can confirm there is Überblick in practice in those projects. Great. Can you speak a German phrase that has Überblick in it? I will not understand it, but I always like the sound of other languages.
Ich habe einen gutes Überblick. I have a good overview. Whether that's right or not, German listeners can contest.
Great. Well,
Simon, what was your word of the year?
I chose the word astonish. I think I've shared previously. Part of the inspiration for that was in reading the Bible. Actually, I noticed this word pop up a couple of times, and I thought, oh, that's a really cool word. It wasn't just like they were amazed or they were surprised. It was astonished. It was like, oh, I like words that just get me to think a little bit differently, and I wanted to use it for a couple of reasons. And I guess as I'm coming into reflecting on it in the year, part of that was about noticing miracles, noticing small acts of divine, if you like, in the day to day. So in the work context, I see that, but also in general in life. And as I was reflecting, it wasn't just a small miracle, but my brother was very poorly in the spring, so May this year, and was very close to dying, and that was a very challenging time for the family. But it was interesting the miracles that happened to help keep him alive, and now thankfully he's working with us as one of our consultants, which is also astonishing. I wouldn't have imagined that a year ago.
Yeah.
So astonished by those little miracles, astonished by what that turns out in the bigger picture as well. One, he's well enough, but two, just life circumstances. He's supporting us and our clients right now, which is awesome. Bringing his experience into the business, and another part was just zooming out, taking my own Uberblick, and thinking, wow, we're at this point, we're 6.5 years into the business, and just thinking, wow, this is astonishing. The work we're doing, the people we're working with is like, sometimes I have to pinch myself. It's like really awesome stuff, what we're creating, and the way in which our clients are engaging with the things that we're designing is just really cool to see. And I find myself astonished frequently about that. Not that I'm surprised that we're doing something poor, that they're getting more from it. I think we're putting a real lot of effort into creating really cool things, really great learning experiences, and it's having the subsequent astonishing effect. We're doing astonishing work with astonishing people.
Agreed. I've noticed that this year as we've been designing or we've been working on stuff. It's like you hear the phrase "good to great" a lot in business. I think internally as a team, it's been okay. Well, how can we make this astonishing? And so you mentioned it being a North Star, but I felt that this year of like, okay, this is good. This is some good stuff. Now, what part of this is actually astonishing? And that's led to some really nice moments as a team. So it's had a knock-on effect to the team with that word. So what an astonishing year.
Yeah. Absolutely. So where does that take us in 2026 then? What have your thoughts? Have you got any thoughts about a word of the year? Anything? Before we spoke, both of us have not formed that word yet. We're recording this in December. It feels slightly premature, excuse me. And this is something I typically do in the Christmas break, is finalize my thinking. So I've got a couple of words. I think you're in a similar space. But what are you thinking about? Where might the word of the year take you in 2026?
Yeah, I wanted my word to build on 2025, to not lose that sense, to pick it up and drop it. It's like, great, that's done now for the year. I wanted to build on that. And so where my mind is, and I don't have a word, I've been searching a German dictionary to try and cheat and put 5 words into one like the Germans do. But I'm looking at this kind of idea of being really present. So I'm talking in my relationships, my communication, work, in all the different areas of my life. It's like, how can I be really present? And the big one for that is technology, just maximizing its impact rather than diminishing the connection that I've got with people around me. So that's on my mind. But well, I guess context. I found a nice German word that blended loads of words together, which is a cheat to this idea. But it was a word that basically said really present while rising. And so if you think the Uberblick at the top, it's like, okay, well, I want to be ascending. I want 2026 to be a year of real growth, to level up, to continually progress while staying extremely present. And so not having present as a stagnant word of everything around me is going at a million miles an hour. No, I'm just going to be present, and I'm just going to stop, and I'm going to slow, and I'm going to be intentional and just be here and in the moment. It's like I want to be that whilst moving, whilst climbing, whilst growing. And I really think that that's possible. Now, finding a word that encapsulates that, I don't know if that is possible, but I will find one in the next 2 weeks before the new year. But that's where my mind's at. That's what I want to focus on in 2026.
Yeah. I love that. I like what you're describing and the image of it. You'll find a word that captures that well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Even if it is a portion of what you've described, because you know the story around it. Ascending, for example, could be the word, but it's, or whatever the German version of that is. I expect you want to stay in the German, but you know what the story is around the word. And so what the dictionary says and what your story is of that could be two different things. I've got something in the field of clarity, veracity. Clarity is a word I've loved in the last half of this year. It's come up in a lot of spaces, which I really like, this idea of, but it's not necessarily just seeing clearly, but there's something around clear communication. And the veracity is this speaking to truth and just trying to really get to what are we really trying to say. And I see it with clients, I see it for myself. So often we speak in this code that people then have to try to interpret what the thing is that we're communicating. And a lot of time and energy can be wasted in that space. So I'd love to, there's something in there for me, right, which is around that even sharper sense of what is the message, and when we're communicating with others, are we actually talking about the stuff that really matters and that we're really trying to say, actually, rather than a form of code that we've got to now pass through a set of filters and decoders to really try and work out what's going on, or completely misunderstand each other. So there's something in that space that I'm thinking is going to be helpful for me.
I love it.
Feels like an eternal quest, that one, to work on, but I that's okay. Could do with that orientation for the next year for me.
Yeah,
cool.
These words of the years are not a one and done. I pick it up for 1 year and done. It's a ongoing quest, which I like the way you put that.
Yes, it is. And let's just talk briefly about the podcast in 2026. Now, hopefully as this lands, people are actually seeing and feeling there's a different feel and shape to what we're doing in 2026. We're still, anyway, what's your thoughts around where we're going?
I think one of the things that I'm passionate about over the last few years of working behind the scenes of this podcast is the intended outcome of the podcast is something that I'm benefiting from. So I'm 24, I'm starting my career, and I'm listening to leaders who have gone through the trenches. They've had the stories, they've got the leadership lessons, and then they're coming into a space where they're reflecting on it and they're sharing them. And one of the things for me is like, will I get to 50, 55, and the leadership lessons that I wish I'd learned earlier are the same ones that I'm hearing from leaders today? That what a waste of an opportunity. So what I'm excited about for 2026 is growth and reach of these lessons and these reflections from leaders who have gone before and done that, for us to apply, so that the next generation of leaders are of a higher quality and caliber that we need in an ongoing digital world. It's like, this is such an awesome platform to learn those lessons, to reflect on those lessons, to hear those lessons, and then for us to really apply them, for everyone to apply them. But I'm thinking specifically for me, and it's like, let's go get it this year. Let's reach people, because I think these are all lessons and conversations that people need to hear, and we enjoy it, and so yes, I'm excited for more people to feel it and to have it.
We do. Well, the question that then comes from that, sure, if you're asking what 3 leadership lessons that you've learned and you're asking that of repeated guests, does it get repetitive, Ryan? I mean, you're in this a lot. Are we just saying the same things every episode, or is it opening up? Yeah. Is there any new vistas?
There's absolutely patterns. I mean, we've run some statistics on it, Simon. I don't have them to hand right now, but the frequency of listening, of communication, of delegation, of building a network, like, there's to name a few, like some of these lessons are absolutely repetitive that people wish they'd learned earlier. And the stories of how they learn those are definitely unique and individual and different. But you raise a good challenge and a good question. I think it's like, one, my thought is, if we're hearing the same things, then what are we actually going to do about it? Because to my point earlier, it's like, okay, it's just, if we were to fast forward 10, 20 years and ask, leaders at that point what they're learning, are they saying they wish they'd learned the same things that we're saying now?
Yeah, absolutely. We do hear there are some threads that run through, but I think you're absolutely right. The beauty of this is the human experience is different for everybody, and how they've arrived at those lessons is very distinctly different. And I'm keen to explore them. I'm desperately trying to get better at this, and I don't mean just podcasting. I mean like leading and ensuring that we help the leaders of the future to be better than the leaders of today. And well, the world needs it. Frankly, the world needs it. And I know we can look at the macro political scene and make judgments about that, but I still feel it in our communities, in our homes, in our teams. Stronger leadership will benefit the world. And even if it is one family at a time or one team at a time, it makes a big difference to the overall impact that has in terms of better decision making, better use of brain power, people feeling fulfilled in the work they do. That's got to be a good thing. Great. Well, I'm excited by the conversations we're going to have, and one of the things that's lovely reflecting as we did last time. A lot of conversations that we had in 2025 just enriched my thinking, and I know that's going to happen again going into 2026. As we look into 2026, then our invitation is to join us on a journey. We're going to go to some really interesting conversations. We want you to be there with us. There's plenty of seats around this table, so please invite your friends, family, loved ones, enemies even, to come and join us at the After Dinner Leadership podcast. There's plenty to learn, and we're excited to share that with the world. Come and join us, and please share it with others. And also, think about that word of the year. If you haven't chosen one, experiment with it in 2026. Go for it. Choose something that you think might help you to get orientated even better towards the person you want to be at the end of December this year. And we look forward to hearing your feedback on that. Enjoy.